Well, when Phil was born, I was in the service in the Air Force at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado. Now, the Air Force Base, the hospital there was not as good as the Army hospital. Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in Denver was a rather famous hospital, so that's where Joanne was going to go to have the baby. And I do recall that on the day before that happened, then we had gone out late in the evening
to a
drive-in theater, and I had a VW, and there's no gas gauge in the VW. You just ran until it chugged, it ran out of gas, and then you turned the valve and gave you a reserve tank, and it was good for about 40 miles. So the previous day we had switched over to the reserve tank, and we had not filled up since. So when we drove to Fitzsimmons Army Hospital and we pulled up and parked, there was enough gas to get there. But when I got ready to leave a few hours later, there was not enough gas in the car to start it. That's how close we came on the gas. And do you want to talk now about your great experience?
We hesitated before going to the hospital, really, probably waited a little bit too long. And by the time I got there, they didn't want to give me any sedative. So this big Swedish nurse came in and she says, "Honey, not to worry, not to worry." She said, "Just grab a hold of me when the pains come." So Phil was delivered fairly naturally, if that's the word for it. But supposedly babies that are delivered like that are super smart because there's no damage done with chemicals and things. Anyway, how many days did I stay in the hospital? Not too long. 3, maybe? Three days, something like that. And the bill was only for food because there wasn't any charge for
the
stay.
Food, the normal food, we didn't have to pay anything to the hospital except if she wanted to have a steak dinner, then that would be a charge of $7.
$7. So Phil's delivery cost us $7.
Simply because she wanted the steak dinner,
right.
You could have, had something.
No way. But the only other thing I recall about that was that I had a semi-private room, which was very unusual because your dad's rank didn't qualify me for a private or semi-private room. But apparently the wards were filled up when I came in, and so they put me in a semi-private room. And that was the discussion of the day because other lieutenants' wives and etc. were really put out that I had that semi-private room. There was a lot of photographers in and out though because the woman in the room with me had triplets.
Triplets.
And so of course,
And her name was Puff.
No, that was a different one. That was a different time. Different time. But the other thing I recall is being in Army hospital. You were born shortly after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that night, or the next morning rather, they brought in clean sheets for the beds and everything and said, "Here's your sheets, get up, make your bed," type thing. And I just said, "No thank you. My husband's in the Army, I'm not. I don't need to change my bed today." I wasn't ready to get up out of bed and make my bed and everything like that. And then a little later on they came around, it was time for exercise class, same thing, get up and exercise. Well, I had just given birth about less than 24 hours earlier, and I wasn't about to get up and go down and exercise. And they were insistent, and I said, once again, my husband's in the service, I'm not. I don't have to comply. So those are the only things I recall about being in Fitzsimmons Army Hospital with Phil.